All right, before we jump in here, if you could just do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and we'll go ahead and get into it. Click it. Thank you. What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and today we're taking a look at the full suite of cards in the Luffy EX GEAR5 deck, releasing December 21st for Asia, and then it is releasing in the United States and Europe and everywhere else in March of 2025. We see all the cards. We're going to take a look at all the cards in the deck. We'll also talk about what leaders this deck potentially boosts. And then at the end, to round things off, we'll talk about if I think this is worth it or not. One thing to talk about here as well is this deck does have a $35 price tag for the English TCG, a $35 price tag. So that's something to keep in mind as we jump in here. But so if you're unfamiliar with this deck, it is just like the super decks, the Three Brothers decks, the Three Captains decks. It is a upgraded deck in which you will get a 51 card deck, so no extra leaders this time around. 10 Dawn cards, a bonus pack with 15 cards, so you can pull alts of every card in the set. And then we also have the card sleeves. You'll get some card sleeves. Previously, they've given us a deck box. This time around, it looks like we're getting card sleeves. Now, of course, you got 1 leader, 2 super rares, and 14 commons. So 16 total new cards to add to your deck, building a paralysis, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at all of the cards. All right. So shout out Nami Piece for making this and putting this graphic together. They went through and counted. You can see all the cards. So we got 2 Usopp, 2 of this Sanji, 4 Bonnie, 4 Jinbei. Also, mind you, they put 4 vanillas in this deck. There are 4 vanillas, none of which have the good vanilla stat, by the way. None of them have the good vanilla stat. The good vanilla stat is a 5/7, which we see in OP10 for the Straw Hats. Another 5/7 would be big for the deck as a whole. However, we unfortunately did not get to see one. So you got, I think that's Lilith. I don't even know who this is, but I think that's Lilith. I'm pretty sure that's Lilith. Sentomaru, Tony Chopper. You get 4 Nami. This card's actually really good. You get 2 Nico Robin, 4 Frankie, 4 Brooke. We get 4 Vanilla 1-drop Vegapunk, 2 of the super rare Luffy, 2 of the super rare Zoro, and then we get 2 of each of the events. See, I'm gonna go with Lilith. But of course, let's take a look at the leader first. So this leader is, you know, it's Luffy EX. They really played into that for this whole set. It is just like a new version of ST21 Luffy. And pretty much Dragon Jr., which makes sense. So he's a 4 Emperor tag, Straw Hat crew, and he's got Dawn X1, activate main once per turn. Give one of your characters up to 2 rested Dawn cards. So it's Dragon, but like you can move it's rested Dawn instead of attached Dawn, which is a-okay. But you do have to have 1 Dawn to be able to move the others. And so then we have the new card just released today, Sentomaru. He's just a blocker, but he does have the Egghead and Navy tag, which could come up eventually later. But yeah, he's a 2/2 1K blocker. Not much to say here. And then we've got Usopp. So this Usopp is pretty nice. It's a regular one, but it's Dawn X2, opponent's turn. This character gains plus 2,000 power. And he's a 2K. So for the 2 Dawn, he's going to be a 5 during the opponent's turn for all intensive purposes, and he's got that nice little 2K. We've seen Usopp on a 2K a lot in red, so once again, everything in here is playing into that EX, and they're revamping these cards, making them more modern with similar attributes to their previous cards. Then we got Brook. This is actually one of the more exciting cards in the deck. When attacking, give up to 2 rested Dawn to your leader or one of your characters. So what you can do here is, and he can give it to himself. So in Sanji, you can now go 3, you can now go 5, and then play him leader ability, and then swing, add 2, go 6. You can also, of course, use this to meet Dragon's requirement by giving 2 to Dragon, and then being able to divvy it up elsewhere. And we'll talk kind of about those a little bit later, but overall, a really decent effect, and then of course allows you to give it to Luffy, but really just maxing your Dawn. And then there is a Brook card that previously would give 2 Dawn. So once again, we're revamping these old cards. Then we've got Jewelry Bonnie, another reasonable addition. Jewelry Bonnie is Dawn X2 on KO, draw a card. So it becomes resource management for red and a resource gain, which red typically does not have. Again, it's on the low to the ground, but it is a card that generates value if answered. So very nice on that front. Sanji, this is one of the better cards overall, just because this is more of another Diable Jambe. It's a 2 cost, 3,000 power, and then he has plus 2,000 counter. So you could also play this off of Ivankov on the random. But on play, choose up to one of your Straw Hat crew type characters. So you can't do your leader, but it's with the power of 6,000 or more. During this turn, your opponent may not activate blocker when this character attacks. So he is literally another Diable Jambe. Quite literally, except there's a power requirement and you can't use your leader. But here's how he's Diable Jambe. You play him, you attach 1 Dawn to your leader, you give 2 to a character. Boom. This card, those 2 that you just paid for Sanji, is going to a new character. And so that's going to be the unblockable character that we're going to want to put it on. He gains that too. So you actually get to use all of the Dawn of a Diable. So you get to go 6-14 instead of the typical Diable Jambe 14. So you can attach 1 to your leader, fish a 6, play this, and then boom, they gave you the counter. Now you're unblockable. You Luffy ability, attach to, and swing. Unblockable 14. So now your 14 requires them to have an extra 2k to counter out if they don't block your 6. This card is actually really good. A lot of people are saying, oh Diable, oh Diable. In this deck specifically, with this card being a 2k, Sanji is just extra powerful in that instance. Then we have Frankie. Frankie is Dawn X2. All of your Straw Hat type characters with an original base power of 4,000 or less gain plus 1,000. Now, emphasis here is on the original base power. So the cards like, we'll go back to just like Usopp. Usopp's going to gain 2. So Usopp can become a 6k if Frankie's ability is being met. And so they will have to swing at a 6k that is normally just a 3k. Granted, this would be a lot better if it was just all of your Straw Hats, but it does give them a little bit of a boost, essentially making them all 5ks, making it a little bit harder to remove instead of doing a leader swing and commanding a 2k, then do a general swing and command a 1k. Now, this, again, is one of the better cards in the deck, if you ask me. It's a Nami, a 3 cost, 1,000 power. This is exactly what I thought, but I thought they might give it to another character other than Nami just to make it Nami searchable. However, we're not having it our way. So it's activate main once per turn. Give up to 2 rested Dawn to one of your Straw Hat type leaders or characters. So against anything that doesn't play removal like black, this body sticks and you can continually play into your curve, attach Dawn, then attach even more Dawn because you're going to go 2 to your leader, and then you're going to use Luffy ability, give 2 more, essentially giving you 4 extra Dawn per turn as long as this character sticks and you're establishing bodies, which is a lot of Dawn. And of course, we got the upgraded Nico Robin. I thought this was like the exact same as the other Robin, but we get Dawn X2 for 1 extra Dawn versus the regular Robin again, playing into this EX. We get, when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters with a power of 4,000 or less. So in Sanji, This is a 5 cost, 6k swing removal. And in any other instance, you know, maybe you're KOing a 4. They didn't give you any minus in this deck. Spoilers, there is no minus in this deck, which I was hoping for maybe a 4k minus Brook. Something extra powerful. Dawn X2 when attacking. Minus 4,000. Something like that I think would have paired very well with this Robin. As it stands right now, there is not a lot I think that this card can do overall. But we'll see as things start to shake out. Maybe later down the line, this card becomes relevant. And then, so now we're getting on to the good stuff, okay? So a lot of the good cards are, of course, the super rares, as they should be, because they're high rarity cards. They should be better cards. That's just how card games work. This is a 5-drop Luffy with Rush. 5 drops 6,000 with Rush. When attacking, give up to one of your leaders or one of your characters 1 rested Dawn. So that goes a very long way, especially when you do this and then you have your Luffy. And then anytime when you're attacking, you get to give a rested Dawn. So this isn't just like a one-time thing. As long as this body stays on board, you're going to get a Dawn for free. And you'll be able to make that, you know, if you have that leader, that 1 Dawn becomes 3 Dawn because you're going to be able to attach it there. So I'm a big fan of this card, especially because there's so many red leaders that have 1 Dawn requirements, and this is going to go a long way because, again, your opponent has to answer it and swing into a 6k body, or, of course, if they play hard removal, it's not as good, but it can really go a long way. And then one of the best cards they've ever made for red is Roanoa Zoro. This card, 4th cost, 5,000 power. This is actually wrong, but it's a 6k. It's Dawn X2. This character gains Rush, so he's a 6/7 rusher, and then you can use it, of course, on 5 with the Luffy leader. You attach 1 to your leader, play him. Luffy, you ideally swing 6, play him, and then Luffy attach 2 and go 7. So you can go 6/7 on 5. And on KO, you may play a red character with 6,000 base power or less from your hand other than Zoro. So he's got the anti-black Dex ability, which is really good because a lot of red just hasn't had that. We got the 2 Marcos, and that was it forever ago, and they just haven't shown us any love. There was one more card. I can't remember what it is. But there was something else we got, but not a lot in terms of cards. Black is the best defense against black. They have all this character cannot be KO'd. You got Burgess. You got the new Kuzan. You got just so many different things coming over there that literally combat itself. You're like, oh, they have cost up. They also have cost down. And it's oh, that's the counter is cost up. They're like, okay, well, cost up. And things like that. So this is the first time Red's actually really getting some love and a good card because this card can replace itself and also spit out a larger character. The biggest card talked about was Vivi. I don't think Vivi's good, but you get to play out a 7 cost for less, for essentially free, which can make the card have an opportunity, but it's exclusively good in that you'll never hard play the card, and that just takes away your consistency. But it creates an opportunity for us to run cards like Wapple, which a 6k, but he becomes an 8k, and he minuses a character, which is very good, but he just never sticks. But now if they answer this Zoro at all, if they swing into it, if they do anything, if they ignore this body, you can play that out, and they also have to be able to answer that, otherwise you're going to get value out of it. And then if it sticks, you're going to establish bigger threats, and it's more likely to stick. Really like this card. All right, Gum Gum Dawn Whip. We're into the events again. We're not talking about the vanillas, but Gum Gum Dawn Whip is a very interesting card because activate main, give up to one of your leaders or characters plus 1,000 power during this turn, then up to one of your opponent's characters with a power of 4,000 or less power cannot activate blocker during this turn. So see you later, Rebecca. And then also trigger K up to one of your opponent's characters with a power of 4,000 or less. This card is... it's almost like it's trying to be Perfume. Of course, we have Diable and we have Zoro, so it's another form of unblockable, which I don't dislike. It's just very expensive. It doesn't even have a counter where you can use it for 1,000. It's exclusively good on the offense. But if you attach one to your Luffy, you go 1, it goes up 2. When you play this, you've used 3 Dawn. You use Luffy's ability, you attach 2. You got 4,000 power from this. So in the Luffy deck specifically, it's pretty good. But again, if we got a minus engine with like a Brook or something, I'd like it just a little bit better. And of course, we have Gum Mole. We get kind of what I thought is going to be like a flavor text version, power creeped of Jet Pistol. It's activate main. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 5,000 power during this turn. It costs 4. Then if you have a character with 6,000 power or more, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a power of 2,000 or less. And then the trigger is activate this card's main effect, which can, 1, answer a body. So you can actually, if you trigger this, you can minus a 5,000 to make them not be able to go for lethal. But on top of that, you can KO like a Rebecca blocker. So you can hit 2 cards with this, set yourself up to go for game. And you can minus a character's power. So I think this card overall is pretty decent. I think there's one deck that this card is extra good in. And we can kind of talk about that. But let's go ahead and talk about the decks buffed. So, of course, we just talked about one. So we're going to dive straight into Marco. Marco specifically, we have the Luffy. Luffy's going to give us 1 Dawn here on 5. So then we can use the leader ability to minus a character if needed. And then we can then use Swing with Marco. But at the very least, we get to play on curve and cycle. You can play on curve, rush, and cycle. We do have the Rush Ace, which is really good. And what's even better is with the Zoro. Zoro gets KO'd, you play Rush Ace. Rush Ace cannot be answered. So they answered one body, now we play an unanswerable body. So it's things like that. That's what we got. We got the Ace. That's what I was thinking of earlier. But it's cards like that. And then let's just take a look back here. This, I don't love it. Mostly because Gum Gum Red Rock costs 6. Gum Gum Red Rock costs 6. We can remove a Moria with this for 5. 1 on leader, minus Moria by 2k. Play, minus 5k. Moria is now a 2k KO Moria. So this can answer Moria for 5 Dawn. But we can answer any card for 6, which makes this a very hard sell to me. But the trigger is just a little bit better because, again, you can answer 2 different things. You can answer a lethal, and you can answer potentially like a Rebecca blocker. So I'm a bit torn on this card just in the deck overall. But Marco, again, we do get as well the Nami. If Nami sticks, you attach, and you can really just go from there. But a lot of different options. Really just that extra Dawn is going to go a long way in Marco. Same thing here with Monkey D. Dragon. Monkey D. Dragon is based around 2. Give up to a total of 2 of your currently attached Dawn to one of your characters. So it doesn't have to be on leader. It can be from another character. You just can't give it to your leader. And so you can really cycle around Dawn. A lot of people put it on the leader because you can't put it there, and they put it other places. But Nami is designed perfectly for this. You can play on curve, and if you're playing rushers, like you're playing 5-drop Luffy, you just played Nami, you play the 5-drop Luffy, you attach to Luffy, you swing with Luffy, you attach 1 to Dragon ability, you attach 2 from Luffy, you just swung 8-8 on 5 Dawn. 8-8 on 5 Dawn. And if they took the first hit, they probably took those 2. Or they just gave you 2 2Ks. And you just aggroed them super hard. On top of that, we, of course, get the events. You've got Gum Gum Whip. It gives you unblockable cards. We get the Zoro. Again, just great evergreen red cards for Dragon. And then you get Brook. Brook lets you go and give you 2 to Dragon. So then, boom, you swing with Brook, give it to Dragon, give it to somebody else, And so I think honestly there's a whole Straw Hat Dragon engine because it's Luffy but slightly better because you don't need that extra Don. You get the two and you just start making it work because you don't have to attach them. You just have to attach them inherently, and then you can go crazy even if you do just everything else. And then Sanji, we talked about Sanji throughout. You get the Zoro. Zoro doesn't have an on play, so Zoro just has Rush. You get to play, again, the Rush Luffy doesn't really do anything here, but it is a nice other Rush body. And then you get the Brook. Brook's going to swing 6. And you also get, like, you get the vanillas. So there's that. And all of those can be used here if you're playing a Straw Hat engine. But, like, the 4-6 is really the big one. And they already had 2 4-6s. I don't see you want to play 3. But yeah, Sanji is also a card that gets buffed. And then similar, I'm mentioning Monkey D. Garp because he does get a buff. You get cards that allow you to use Dawn to go a little bit farther. And every time you attach one, you get to make a character go minus. And if only there was like a red power KO or anything, like I feel like the synergy could really be there. But of course, I'm mentioning Garp in this video because you do get Don attaching Brook, Nami. Nami's a little bit more efficient because you get to attach 2 instead of 1 and things like that. And then we're also going to mention Sabo. Sabo is really decent. I'm a big fan of his ability. We get a 5-6er that when swinging attaches a Dawn, and now he can't be KO'd. You can give it -1k if they try to remove it, and you're going to continually be able to play into your curve, max out your Dawn, and still get that 1 Dawn as long as that Luffy's there, and he's going to be very hard to answer. I'm actually a huge fan of the Luffy specifically for this Sabo. I think it's going to go a really long way. And then again, we have more cards that can allow you to attach Dawn. But on top of that, we get its opponent's turn. They can't be KO'd. We have the whole engine is dedicated to making your characters more powerful, making your 4Ks, 5Ks during your opponent's turn, making them harder to be removed. So then you can keep those bodies as well. I think Sabo is going to be an underrated pick. Do I think it's going to be meta? No, because Doflamingo's kind of Hannah Bananas. But if he wasn't, or if there was any kind of switch, or if we got just a little bit more, I think it could go a long way. And then, of course, the red-yellow Sabo, I think, out of these leaders is the most impacted positively because his is Dawn X1, and then you can add a 3 or a higher character into your life and then buff another character by 2k. That 5-6 Luffy makes this more consistent because now you have another Luffy target for the baby Luffy, and you can stack it in your life, and it's going to give you the Dawn to do so when you swing. So on 6, you attach 1, go 7. Say you played Zoro, boom, you're going to put Luffy, you swing with Luffy, you get to give him arrested, you're going to use his ability, put him in life, and then you're going to give your Zoro plus 2,000, then you're going to go 5, and you're going to go 7 with the Zoro. If they answer the Zoro, you get to play out another body, and you just win up a life. I think all of the Dawn efficient cards, including like Brook being able to attach 2 to himself, so then you can attach one to your leaders, put Brook back in life. Just little things like that are going to go a very long way for this Sabo. So I'm an absolute huge fan of it for that Sabo, because again, we get a little bit more consistent with the babies, and you get a lot of that Dawn efficiency, which is going to go a long way. Now, of course, let's talk about it. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I think it's $35 US. $35 US. I think we see it at 25. You get a pack, which ideally has 3 alts. There are alts inside of here. You can see them on a video. I was going to include them here, but it kind of got really long because I just been yapping. But I think there's a lot of value in this video, of course. Is it worth it? I think if you play red, if we were to play red, I believe that you need to have at least the Luffys and the Zoro. I think those alone make it worth it. The other cards are very niche, not very evergreen for the red color overall. However, those and arguably the events. The events are decent. Do I love the price for what we get because we get 4 vanillas? I feel like if we had 4 other cards, it could go a really long way. 4 vanillas really is a damper on the deck because it's pretty much saying you didn't get 4 cards. So we really got 12. Got 12 cards. I like the deck at 25. I'm sure the alt leader is going to be expensive, but I don't think that this deck, I think, Luffy's going to be 8s, Zoro's going to be 8s, everything else is going to be nothing. And then, that's like $30. And it's like, but then, nobody can sell the deck, and then those go down. I think the deck's a cop at $25. I think there are good cards that are going to be staples in red decks. At the very least, Zoro's going to be a staple. Luffy might be worth less. Zoro's a staple. I think if you play red, if you play in the decks mentioned, it's worth picking up. I think these are going to be one of those that might sit on your LGS and they might actually charge under retail, which is always a blessing in this community. And as always, if you found this content of value, if you could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton.